Hey, welcome back to my channel and to the 5th episode of my Latte Art Championship journey. I received all of the equipment for my competition, including the rest of the clever drippers. These clever drippers hold around up to 500 milliliters of liquid. At first, we only worked with the one the roastery already had, since we weren't sure it could fit the amount of milk we wanted to use for each set. Initially, when we just started training, we seemed around 540 grams for each set of free pour latte. But after adjusting and improving throughout the 2 months, we reduced the milk usage to around 480 grams. The designer latte required more milk, as the final step includes etching, which is using a pen-like needle dipped in steamed milk to draw on the coffee base. So we plan to use 525 to 530 grams of milk for the designer latte. The clever dripper could actually hold a bit more than 530 grams of milk, so we were happy to use it in our routine. We increased the milk used for my macchiato set from 120 to 140 grams, as my milk quality wasn't ideal when steaming with minimal milk. One thing I would have changed in my routine is to prioritize milk quality over wastage. As mentioned in my last episode where I break down the score sheet, exceeding a certain amount of wastage will reduce points. Since the visual score sheet weighed so much more than the technical score sheet, I should have steamed around 170 grams for my macchiato set to ensure the milk quality was good, as the milk quality was recorded on the visual score sheet and the wastage was recorded on the technical score sheet. The only downside of using the clever drippers is that you need to be extremely careful when placing it on the milk jugs. The clever dripper releases its valve by pressing against its bottom. To prevent it from releasing on a flat surface, it has 4 legs to support it. If you place one of the legs on top of the spout of the jug, due to the weight of the milk, the clever dripper will tilt and fall off the jug. That's why we built a habit of placing the 4 legs in the 2, 4, 8, 10 o'clock directions, and avoided any turning motion when we placed it on top of the jug, only letting go when we were sure it was in place. I can't even think of spilling all of my milk on stage within the first 10 seconds of my performance.
So Jesse's going to be competing in the art chance next week. Pressure. No pressure. Not much.
There was an internal training going on at the same time as my practice session today. It allowed me the opportunity to practice in front of strangers. Although I usually look pretty confident when I pour, my hands shake pretty badly when there are cameras or strangers in front of me.
So yeah, you can step, actually, it might help gently for Jesse's nerves to have a few people watching. So there are...
Shaking was something that really affected my pour and my confidence, and I have yet to find a way to overcome it. Hopefully, with more experience participating in throwdowns and competitions, my hands will eventually stop shaking one day.
So Jessie will also be doing a speech throughout it. Alright, so she'll be completely mic'd up. So if she messes up, she can't go, fuck. Everyone will hear.
That's my main go-to.
Alright. So if you want, watch how she sets her crema and then goes in quite comfortably. So jugs, milk pitchers in itself, they're all designed a little bit differently. Alright, so how your spouts are shaped and the length will then also create these patterns. So a lot of people, they go, I'm really struggling to create patterns, and sometimes it's not the right jug. So the slightly wider spouted ones are really good for rosettas. Alright, but if you want a sharp tulip, you're going to struggle a little bit. Alright, you're not going to get as crisp finish.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
If you were to go something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plus we get a very ramage long.
Yeah. I can't even do a monkey. I can't even draw a monkey with a pen and paper. Let alone like if I was to, you know, put some milk in it.
I used to work with Arnie Hernandez.
Oh yeah, he's competing as well.
Yeah, so he's like
He just won an espresso machine the other day because of his latte art.
what? He did what?
He won an espresso machine because of his, he did really well with his latte art.
Like normal? Like sage or like
Sage.
Sage.
I mean, it's still 600-700 quid. It helps because you're going to have so many people watching next week, including me. You are opposite my stand.
Are you judge?
He's watching.
Yeah, so I'm working a stand opposite the latte art screens. So
Karen's done.
no, Caravan's not there this year. Weirdly enough. No, I'm part of a Women and Allies in Coffee group, so I'll be there volunteering. So Jessie has the timer in front of her. So she has 4 minutes to complete the rest of her course.
How many photos?
So she'll produce 6 in total. So she's produced the first 4, and then the next
Letting
four.
off tomorrow, 4 o'clock at the junkyard. Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, just had to important.
That's fine.
There also might be some bacon and bread here you guys take home.
Yeah, there might be
If anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Letting off tomorrow.
Yeah, got it. Thanks, mate. No, it's, thank goodness, all free when we close.
Anything can go wrong. Other than the performance time we need to worry about, each competitor also gets 5 minutes of preparation time before their performance. Within the preparation time, competitors transfer all of their equipment from the trolley provided by the SCA to the performance station. Funny enough, sometimes the SCA UK doesn't have enough trolleys, so some competitors, knowing that it might happen, bring their own trolleys to the competition. During the 5 minutes of preparation, we would weigh the milk, transfer it into our containers, set up our jugs, cloths, and posters. Depending on the competitor, sometimes we would dial in the grinder. According to the rulebook, the grinder was supposed to be dialed in to an acceptable extraction range. However, as I volunteered for 2 UK Latte Art Championships in the past, I was well aware that there was a possibility for the grinders to not be dialed in. In 2019, because one of the competitors was unhappy about the extraction time, we dialed in the grinders before the competitors came on stage. But this also meant the competitors who competed in the early morning didn't work with a dialed-in grinder, but the ones after did. In 2022, the year when I competed, due to the small numbers of volunteers supporting 2 competitions at the same time, the grinders weren't dialed in at all. I of course complained to the SCA committee at the end of the competition, however there was no comment on this. Luckily, my performance was during midday and some other competitors who competed before me already dialed in the machine. If you forget something after your preparation time starts, you can grab it from the backstage, but the timer won't stop and your coach can't help you. Once your preparation ends, you can't touch anything on the performance station. One thing I would advise is to color code your cloths. You can do this by either using cloths in different colors or placing them on different colored saucers. You never know what will happen on stage, so my coach advised me to prep an extra damp cloth and an etching pen in my apron, just in case I dropped them on stage. Initially, I was a bit against it because I didn't like the feeling of having extra weight on my already heavy denim apron. Although I've never seen anyone drop something on stage, I think it was pretty good advice, and I would include that into my future routines.
Welcome, judges. Today I'm going to take you on a personal journey with me to latte art. Can you turn on the TV with the video?
So telling the judge what to do?
Excuse me.
I can find the remote.
I'll go to 4 and 3.
For my finals routine, the first 2 matching sets are exactly the same as the first 2 sets in my semi-finals routine. So I'm just going to briefly show them as we have all seen that before and go to the designer latte, which is done a bit differently than the free pour.
My first pattern is sequins. And the first animal pattern is orange. And it represents the starting point of my latte art career. And I wanted to bring this pattern on the same day as a showcase of how
The free format design are based on my own personality and lifestyle. So please take a look on my poster first, which is koala. And the last one will be the snail. And later on, I'm going to parachute on my
asking myself who I was finally found the right conclusions. So this diagram is a symbol of how I now timepiece.
4 minutes left. No, 3 minutes left.
Huh? 30?
3 minutes.
Oh.
That's the end.
Is that
first one for you is enjoy. For the koala face, I will use the dragon to create his eyes, ears, and nose all only in one move.
I placed the cups vertically against each other due to my own preference. Etching wasn't a technique I used often, so I had to figure out how to use the pen as we went on. I poured the extra milk into a small but tall and narrow glass as most of the elements require me to drag the etching pen. Having more milk foam covering the length of the etching pen allowed me to drag the line longer. We figured out that we had to move the etching pen on the y-axis at the same time as we moved along the surface to create better contrast on the coffee.
Smile.
Time.
Nice. Do you get to say something? Did you get to say what
No,
you're doing?
for the last one. Or I could say something. I'll see if you
Oh, nice.
or just have like an awkward smile. I need to shake.
Fun.
I need to shake.
But it happens randomly, so. Unless.
Oh, yeah, I would think. Oh, no, I told you so. No, I know.
I don't even know. Yes, ready.
Just train station.
Rush. Where did my rush?
And then Uber.
I am, yeah.
Down, off.
I don't know this. Huh? Yeah. Now it's good. Okay. Judges. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. What? Ready? Yeah. Ready? Time. Welcome, judges. Today, I'm going to take you on a personal journey with me in latte art. I'm going to present you three different patterns, talk you through the science stories behind it. Except for the ceiling. To it. And my second pattern. Oh, second cup. And I'll be back with my second pattern. So my second pattern is the
You better show your short video brought to you from Sports.com. Open-minded producer is always looking to improve quality. For example, it's using this irrigation and fertilizer system throughout the entire farm to build this unique greenhouse system to protect these coffee trees from UV rays. As he believes with the common shade practices and temperatures are still under the stress. And I guess he's right. What's honey babe?
What?
Shade.
This one first. This one.
If you manage
No,
to get
that's what it's already exists
more
when you
sugars in this system,
doing the
you're turning the lot in a common shade. And that's what's going to give you
And then
more
this one.
sweetness in your espresso. So in front of you, you have a booklet.
down for that.
You see information from
And
everyone on the
also,
farm.
second.
These booklets are for you to keep, so please, after presentation, take them back with you. I'm going to start with signature shots. But once again, welcome.
Good. I mean, it's good to see Queen as you go.
I noticed that it's been just only this one.
Yeah, I work for television shop in Chicago, and we work with Community Reserve and
Maybe
the
this
farm
one.
is after planted, the river farm actually. He's even got farm in the
I mean, worst come to worst, you probably
He's known, well known for using very
So maybe have a
techniques, planting usual rare varieties, and very much focus on quality over quantity.
And you don't do well here. I'd rather you do well here.
Technical's less weight than the
like
visual, right?
A third less than the whole thing. So.
Milk, everything ready, scale go away. Okay. Ready, judges? No?
No.
Ready? Wait, what's my first line again?
Don't forget to end with a smile.
Ready? Yeah. Time. Welcome, judges. Today, I'm going to take you on a personal journey with me to latte art. I'm going to present you 3 different patterns and talk you through the story behind them.
Grab what you want and walk out.
They're not ours.
Just walk out the door and people out here.
Most of them.
Most of them are on our
Really?
Change your mind.
There's only about 5 of us on salary at the moment.
Let up your items. Charge your friend.
Oh, maybe half an hour. I don't know. Been a stressful day.
Oh my god. Why?
Had a club last week and then
Now my first pattern is a seahorse. It was the first animal pattern that I learned. Oh fuck. Let me pause.
okay.
Yeah. Steam got my got on the. What are you gonna do if that happens?
Carry on.
Okay, pause. Yeah, I should reposition the Steam one. It was like.
I think the rule does not say anything about burning yourself.
No.
It says if
Only
machine-
technical.
Yeah, if machines malfunction or Binance malfunction, so you have to carry on.
Well, at least this happened, so I know how to not make that happen again.
You're doing well.
Ouch. Wait, let me just run it through it.
We just start all over.
Should we?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't take long to finish. Wow, you finished within 7 minutes. I mean, within 3 minutes.
Oh my god, I suddenly had a flashback because I have the exact same key marker.
Get your milk ready. You need to carry it on.
Okay, I'll internally die.
Well, I feel like if that happened, just don't turn it off and call it technical. Just try turning it off, but don't turn it off. So call it technical. So you can be like, oh, it doesn't turn off. No, I'm being serious. And then you can call it technical.
I can, but what if it's like working?
And then you can be like, well, it didn't turn off, but I tried to turn it off.
It happened so many times with this machine.
Yeah, no, with this machine, yeah. It's so annoying.
Okay.
No disqualified?
No, I don't think so. I say no, it's total PTSD. Oh my god, he's
It's light as well. Oh, be heavier.
It's very light, very light. Hi, welcome judges. Today I'm going to take you on a personal journey with me through latte art. I'm going to pour you 3 different patterns and talk you through the story behind them.
So how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Distracted.
Call my phone.
No. No, which is good.
Do the MC talk? Well, no.
I mean, I've seen sometimes they do, but they shouldn't. Last year they did, right? It's nice. It's good. She's paying attention.
Did I say what the C word is? I didn't say, right?
You haven't been speaking
Yeah,
for
no.
the last, like,
Sorry, you guys were talking. I was like listening to you guys talking. Sorry. So, 2 for the fin.
I'll put my hair down.
Is it for the neck? Cycle for tail. My first quarter.
That's right, angry.
My second pour.
she's, it's her inner thing. That's what's going on. Transfer to the cup.
Kill it for the fin. Oh, if I laugh, it's like
That's a shaking.
shaking. Yeah. Is it for the neck? Is it the seaweed?
Oh, the reason I don't get tattoos because, well, I do want them, but my dad is covered with tattoos.
Really?
He got sleeves, yeah.
That's so cool.
And the reason I don't get it because he always get more and more.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, what if I do get some?
That's
My
some people
second
are
pour.
like that, and some people are you get one, and then they're like,
He just go like here, full chest,
I'll be back
here,
with my
leg, and I'm like,
pattern. My second pattern is a monkey.
yeah,
I tried this last year and her friend and to her. Did you see the same one was like called a technical? But what does it help? It's not gonna say.
I actually don't know because I don't know anyone that have core technical.
I would just say.
I mean, if you actually register, you just have to carry on with it.
Health technically. Health.
Doesn't say on the rulebook.
I haven't got my ticket by the way, still.
Oh, yeah, they call it a body.
Sign up now.
I did like a month ago.
You can pick it up. I think you can pick it up.
You can tell me about that.
Tree, ground, hands, tail.
I signed up when I was still in Paris. You guys know what's
What
You told me to. Yeah, what?
What happened? Is she being distracted?
Yeah.
So interesting. So if we don't pay attention, you're getting distracted.
Fine, make me laugh. I need to shake. Oh god.
I was trying to get Coldplay ticket.
Oh yeah.
It sold out so fast. So I got one in Sweden
Oh really?
for
When is
next
this?
year, July, because that was the cheapest.
How much
220 quid.
Oh, I can't believe this is
It
working.
was 660 for like Milan or something, and I'm like, fuck that.
Is this one ticket or they have different
Two
tiers?
tickets.
No, I mean a different tier.
Yeah,
or-
different tiers.
Oh. Yours is the expensive ones or cut in the middle?
I don't know. My wife just bought it, but yeah.
Oh, so 2 tickets, 200 something.
200 something, yeah. It's not bad,
That's
but
fine.
there's no way I'm paying 600 for 2 tickets. I'd have to fly somewhere to go watch it.
The
You know, you haven't been talking.
I know. It's not my issue now. I need to. I'm trying to listen into your conversation so I laugh and then so I shake.
Just talk as well. Talk and listen.
So my third pattern is a dragon. And I obviously don't sound I honestly don't sound British, so people ask me where I'm from. And when I was younger, I felt like I wasn't fully Chinese because I wasn't born there and I wasn't fully Canadian because I grew up there. So after years of asking myself what I was, I came to a conclusion. And so this dragon is a symbol of how now I'm proud of my roots and I will claim culture.
Daniel, Karen.
What?
Even the monkey looks angry.
I'm telling you, she's sending her inner energy out. Look at that face though, that looks like an angry face. That looks like I'm getting shit.
This is my first one.
This dragon's gonna look angry.
It's working. Rosetta for the neck. Sun? That was loud.
Would it help you if you hold your breath?
Yeah, yeah.
Shaky.
Nose, eyes, yeah, more milk helps.
Perfect.
Sun? So I hope you enjoyed my performance today. Entire.
Wow, so close.
I mean, even if I don't need to like stand in front of them, right, to say time.
No.
I just need to like, if I actually just
You
brush
need to
it,
make
I
sure
just
you
need
put
to.
your hand up. Because sometimes like timekeeper can't hear you.
Ah, okay, I think
It's like universal there.
Okay.
Put your hand up.
This is more identical, right? It was like some monkeys. Totally.
How does it feel? Just let it drop there.
Oh.
Just let it drop here.
Ah!
Thank goodness.
No, I did that.
You did it?
Just
Wait,
to
actually?
test you, but you
Oh.
still failed, didn't see it. It's fine. You, like, small detail, you lose a couple points. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
I think I'm like.
I think you're fine, honestly. What do you think? Yeah. Like from your first day and now,
I don't know about
it's a
this.
massive difference, a massive improvement. No?
Yeah, I just need to see what Saturday feels like. Today too tired.
You're like 3 times better
I think
from your
so.
first day.
Yeah, first day, like, of course.
Like-
that was shit.
Problem solving is faster as well, so it's fine. I will be happy with myself.
Mm.
I mean, it's on Thursday, right? The coffee culture. So Tuesday is your last competition, and then just relax. On Tuesday. On Tuesday, we're trying to be as thorough as we
At
can.
home, I will probably do just not the full run, because full run I would be just like, I'll probably already remember what I should
Okay.
say. It's just.
Are you gonna do it at home? Is that what you're saying on the Tuesday run?
No, Wednesday. I would do some like small duration work.
Just for confident doing.
I'll use PC. I'm not going to use phone.
Yeah. That's good. It's good to have that. At least keep yourself 24 hours.
Thank God for the Linea. I wouldn't do it without it. Good investment. Holy shit. I didn't know it would make such a big difference.
This episode was pretty long, but I hope you enjoyed it. The next episode will be the series finale, where I will share more about my experience on the day of the competition. See you then.